Hello and welcome back to the Dynasty Vipers Viper Bites, presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. For all your one-stop shop fantasy football needs, head to fantasypoints.com, enter that promo code Vipers22 and get 10% off that subscription today. Now, we are going to continue our little series here when we're looking at all the top 5 Dynasty fantasy football assets for all 32 teams. And this time we are going to take a look at the Detroit Lions. Now, this team has been lacking some talent for a long time, but finally things are turning around in the Motor City, thanks in large part to Deandre Swift. When you look at how the experts rank him right now, currently he is going off the board as the RB3 in Dynasty rankings here. And on a points per game basis, Swift finished 11th among all backs, producing at a 16.2 fantasy points per game clip during that 2021 season last year. Now, sure, injuries kind of slowed him down, held him to only playing in 12 contests, but in 10 games prior to those injuries kind of creeping up there, he led all backs with 53 receptions. Swift and Jameson Williams, they are evenly splitting carries on the ground. The difference being Swift was targeted 78 times in the passing game, which was the second most on this Lions squad. Again, he didn't play a whole season. Even with new arrivals like DJ Chark and Jameson Williams coming to town, Swift should continue to be a major focal point of this offense as he creates mismatches against linebackers, which Jared Goff and the Lions can't exploit. Now, Coach Dan Campbell, he took over those play calling duties in about week number 10. And you know Dan Campbell's got that old school mentality where he wants to shove that ball right down your throat. Well, the Lions, they finished the season off with the 7th most rushing attempts and ran the ball 49% of the time to close out the season. There's not much not to like about what Deandre Swift brings to the table as far as fantasy is concerned, with 8 of his 10 games while healthy last year, resulting in top 24 finishes. There's no reason not to believe that Deandre Swift can't keep this going on from season in and season out moving forward. Now, speaking of moving forward, the Detroit Lions, hey, they move forward on the draft board, getting Jameson Williams way back in April. Currently, as far as Dynasty is concerned, he is going off the board as the wide receiver 30 currently. And when you look at what he is able to do, the Lions, they jumped up to the 12th overall selection to select a wide receiver despite tearing his ACL back in January. First, look at the underclassmen that have been drafted from the wide receiver position coming out of the SEC. Since 2010, there have been 10 of them who in that last season there in the SEC have had 1,000 yards receiving as well as 10 touchdowns. Those wide receivers, they are Jarvis Landry, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, A.J. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, and then 2 rookies here in this class, Treylon Burks, and yes, Jameson Williams. Williams is more than capable of taking the tops off of defenses as his 671 receiving yards on deep targets were the most of any draft-eligible receiver in this year's class, while his yards after the catch per reception ranked him tied for second with 9.3. Heck, put on the Georgia tape back in December. Williams had a season-high 107 yards after the catch against the soon-to-be national champion Georgia Bulldogs. Now, let's take a look at the tight end position because, again, more talent here at the tight end position for the Detroit Lions here. In 12 games, T.J. Hawkinson managed 145.3 fantasy points, which was good enough for 13th amongst the tight end position. Hawkinson's 12.2 fantasy points per game were the 6th best total amongst his peers there in 2021. Before injuries forced him to miss the final 5 games of the season, Hawkinson was first in route participation at 85%, third in target share at 22%, while averaging 7 targets per game. Anytime a tight end is on pace for 120 targets over the course of a season, you have to take notice. Well, it's unlikely that Hawkinson will see 120 targets moving forward with all this talent here that the Lions have accumulated here the last couple seasons. Hawkinson's efficiency could be scary. At just 24 years of age and in the 5th year of his option here recently being picked up, the future continues to be bright for Hawkinson and the Lions and this upcoming explosive offense. Imagine this group of skilled players with a quarterback like C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. Now, more talent here as pass catchers are concerned. How about Amon-Ra St. Brown, currently going off as a wide receiver 33 per experts' rankings. Now, St. Brown was the biggest beneficiary of both Hawkinson and Swift missing time last season due to injury, especially on the back half of 2021. Good players, they take advantage of situations and other opportunities, and St. Brown would go on to register 90 receptions. Not bad for a 4th-round selection. Actually, those 90 receptions were the most by a fourth-round pick all time, dwarfing Marquise Colston's there, 70 back in 2006. Now, St. Brown had 912 receiving yards, and that was the first time since Mike Williams from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers era who finished with more than 900 yards since 2010. With Hawkinson and Swift back to health and a DJ Chark and Jameson Williams in tow, it's unlikely that St. Brown sees 120 targets, but there's no denying what he is capable of doing. Weeks 13 to 18 last season, he would finish as the wide receiver 3, averaging 11 targets per game and getting himself a 33% target share. So if any of these lines pass catchers go down, look out, because there's going to be a huge uptick in volume going someone else's way. One of those other new receivers we've talked about, DJ Chark, totally underrated right now. He is about the wide receiver 63 as far as the experts' consensus ranking is concerned for dynasty receivers moving forward. This is one of those low-risk, high-reward type signings for the Lions. Back in March, Chark was signed to a one-year contract worth only $10 million. People seem to be forgetting that Chark was a Pro Bowl selection not too long ago. And back in 2019, he would finish with 73 receptions for 1,008 yards and 8 touchdowns in just 15 contests. Between the 2020 season and the 2021 season, Chark would suit up only 17 times, averaging 14.3 yards per reception. In 2 healthy seasons, DJ Chark was top 10 in air yards and would finish as a top 30 receiver for fantasy. His current ADP is wide receiver 60, while his ECR is wide receiver 63. Detroit is making a solid investment in Chark, and fantasy managers should be looking to capitalize as his market is as low as it is. Jared Goff won't be the signal caller much longer in Detroit. So either DJ Chark ends up attached to a franchise-changing quarterback in 2022, or he outperforms his current deal and inks a bigger deal elsewhere next season. So you can see I am super excited, super pumped about what this Lions offense can do for fantasy moving forward. And you should be too. And you should also be excited about saving 10% over at fantasypoints.com by using promo code Vipers22. And while you're there, while you're checking things out, take a second, give us a thumbs up here on the Vipers Network, hit the subscription button, make sure those notifications are turned on, because we are coming at you with content daily right up to kickoff into the 2022 season. Stay tuned for plenty more coming at you. See you later.